Welcome, race fans, to the Concord Speedway, nestled within the woods in North Carolina. Today, I almost said tonight, this morning we've got action from the Virtual Oval Championship D-Class Series. So that is super late models. We'll get you a preview up on the screen in a moment. You can see Michael Kasich actually was who I was focused on to begin with, but you can see some cars going around the Speedway already, getting ready for the race. Not a whole lot of cars here just yet. So we'll see if we get some more drivers in the field before we get going. And actually, let me get this big logo out of the way. Let's see if we can get some more cars in the field before we get going. Come back in just a few. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. And yeah, we'll be right back.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Simulated racing
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
Welcome back, race fans, to the Concord Speedway. Today, I've got Zach Lindgren alongside of me, and that's kind of a rarity nowadays on PSI TV, but it's good to have you back, Zach. And I know you weren't here for either one of the virtual oval races a couple of weeks ago, but the D-Class Series started off at Southern National Speedway a couple of weeks ago. We had the privilege of streaming that race, and today we're back for the third race of the series. We missed the week in between races 1 and 3. And, these guys are from across the pond in Europe. So to our American viewers, some of these names may be a little bit foreign. And for us, we'll just try and do our best with the pronunciation. It may be a little bit off. Apologies if it is. But currently, Akos Bakor is your practice leader. And Zach, what do you like in that you see so far?
I'm sorry, I still have yet to load into the sessions as of right now.
All right, well, then we'll give Zach a moment to load in. We should be live on all 3 of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'll check them all once more, but I believe we're live on all 3, so that's pretty cool. We're finally getting it worked out. I've been trying this for a couple of nights, and yeah, it's cool to see it finally getting worked on and get going here. So, welcome everybody to the race. We're going to go ahead and check out our practice speeds at Concord Motorsport Park. So far, Akos Bakor is on top with a 15:49. Mark Kiss is currently in second at, well, I'm not sure the exact time, actually. I totally blanked there. But Thomas Nolden will be third. I'm not sure on that pronunciation. We'll say Aitor Sintes Galindo. I can say Galindo. Michael Krafzik is behind him in 5th. Giorgio Ponti is in 6th. And Andreas Top is currently 7th. So far, only 7 cars have entered. Zach Lindgren there loaded in as a driver. So that's why he just appears as the number 85.
My mistake. I didn't mean to come in as a driver.
Oh, you're fine, Zach. You're fine. You can see the apparently backless buildings on the front straightaway. I didn't expect that to happen when I loaded this camera up. So you'll have to just, I guess, not mind that. I don't know if I can edit it now. Anywho, so we've got, oh gosh, how many laps do we have, Zach? Can you get me a?
Yeah. Let me take a look for you. Yeah, I'm in. All right, so for tonight we have 150 laps to go around this really short Concord Speedway here in North Carolina.
All right, yeah, it is definitely a very short track. Let's see if we can give you another view of it from the other blimp camera we have. This should give you a pretty good idea of how small this track actually is, and we can get to a different driver that is actually around the track right now. This place is tiny. It's very, very small. And it's got this unique shape, obviously, as you can see. It's almost like a reversed image of Pocono Raceway and then shrunk down. I think that's a good way to explain the track. 3 totally different corners, and this place can bite you really, really quick if you aren't careful.
Yeah, extremely quick. I mean, you've pretty much got to hit each corner with extreme accuracy, and if you don't, it's real easy to either overdrive it or underdrive it, and if the driver behind you gets a really good run out of any corner, it's really hard to either keep that momentum and pass the person in front of you, or it's really hard to not get into that person in front of you. I mean, this track is so extremely small that these guys are going to be piled on top of each other pretty much, bumper to bumper, side by side, so we're in for some good racing tonight, but it's going to be interesting to see how these guys get around this really tiny track on a car that sometimes is a little tight around each track that they go to.
Well, a couple of weeks ago at Southern National, these guys only had 2 cautions throughout 150 laps around that small mixing bowl, which is pretty similar to Bristol in a few ways. So only 2 cautions at 150 laps was quite impressive to both Brennan and myself. Obviously, we weren't here last week. I believe they went to the Bull Ring at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but we are here this week, and of course, a lot fewer drivers this time around. Only 7 drivers have loaded into the race session. We'll watch Thomas Nolden, and as he goes out to qualify. We'll actually go on board with him as he tries to give the best lap time he can. But yeah, these guys, they ran a really good race at Southern National. Of course, even fewer drivers here, so we could just see a clean and green 150 laps here, Zach.
It's very possible. It is very possible. I mean, if they were to only have 2 cautions at what you said, Southern National?
That is correct. 150 laps, only 2 cautions.
So it is, if they can only do 2 cautions there, it's very possible that they can go green all the way here.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a huge possibility that they don't have a caution here tonight, or today rather, this morning, in Concord, North Carolina. We're watching now Michael Krafzik as he goes out for his qualifying run. These guys are in a 5-minute 2-lap qualifying session, which means they can all turn laps at the same time. And you'll see if they don't like something that's coming up, they'll just stop and escape, go back to the pits, and try it again. So if they don't like the lap that they have going, they can reset back to the pits and restart. That's one of the wonders of iRacing and being, you know, on the internet. So I think the 22 actually may have gotten a penalty last time for possibly a blend line violation, but he is going back around, so we'll stay on board with the quick lane forward.
Looking at the practice times right now, they're pretty much, every qualifying time is pretty much equaling every practice time right now. I want to say the leaders or the pole sitter at this point, Akos Bokor? Bakor?
I believe that's, yeah, I've been saying Bakor.
Bokor, okay. Right now, his qualifying time matches his practice time. Same thing with Thomas Nolden. His practice time is a 15.68. His qualifying time is a 15.69. So, I mean, these guys are really staying identical to their lap times, and we're just going to have to see how this plays out. Right now, Akos Bakor with the 2/10 lead over everyone right now for pole, but we're going to have to see if any of these guys pick it up during the race.
For sure, and Bakor just came around to complete, I believe, his 2nd lap. I could be wrong. He actually may be completing it right now. We just went to onboard. He could also just be practicing, getting more time in on the track. Only the first 2 laps will count for these guys. But, you know, they're totally free by rules of the sim to continue lapping the track just for practice, since they're on the track on their own. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing out of the number 70 driver, Akos Bakor, just getting more practice around Concord, and that's why he's still on the track.
I was looking at some of the practice laps, and I believe it was the 34 of Mark Kiss. Let's see. One of these drivers ran over 200 laps in practice alone. I want to say it was either Mark Kiss or Thomas Nolden. Let me check here. It was Thomas Nolden. He ran 236 laps of practice. He pretty much almost doubled what the race is going to be. I think he's trying to set himself up for maybe a longer run tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Today. These guys, I noticed that at Southern National, they come in early. They come in when the practice session opens up, and they've got an hour and 30 minutes, so 90 total minutes of practice, and they put down all the laps they can. These guys are super dedicated to what's going on here, and it's really cool to see just that kind of dedication. They may not have the chance to practice earlier in the week, so they come in early in the practice session, get over 200 laps in for a 150-lap race, and that's the result. But I believe, how much time is left until this session rolls over?
Until the qualifying session over, we have about 50 seconds.
All right, so then we'll try and watch. Actually, no, the 70 just escaped. So Akos Bakor done on the track. I'm not sure if anyone else is out on the speedway, so we'll just go over the qualifying times real quick. Zach, I'll take the top 5. We've got Akos Bakor in first with a 15.46. Thomas Nolden in second. Michael Krafzik in the number 22 taking third so far. Aitor Galindo currently in fourth, and Giorgio Ponti in fifth.
And rounding out the last driver who took a time would be Andreas Top with the 16.49. And the driver to not take a time so far, Mark Kiss, right now sitting 7th.
Now, is Mark Kiss still in the session?
It says, let me take a look here. It says he is, yes.
All right, so he should still be in the race. The session is now rolling over, so we'll bring up your starting grid in just a moment.
Actually, it doesn't even show him as connected.
Well, that's never good.
No, that's really never good.
Alrighty, so as these drivers grid up and get ready for the 150 laps on hand, looks like we may only have 6 of these guys, which means it's an easy point day all around. Could just be a nice, easy race for everyone involved. You know, 6 drivers at a track like this get spread out pretty easily. So, I mean, really, I think we could just see a quick race here. These guys were pretty quick at Southern National. I think they'll be even quicker here tonight, or this morning, rather. And we'll bring up the starting grid. Akos Bakor in first, Thomas Nolden in second, Zach.
And then Michael Kraftsik will be third. Artur Galindo will be in fourth. Galindo, I apologize.
And moving to row number 3, the Italian driver Giorgio Ponti is going to start in fifth with Andreas Top to his outside. And then number 10, Thomas Nolden has not gridded up just yet. The rest of your starting grid would be Mark Kiss if he reconnects to the server, but it's not looking likely. So we may just have these 6 drivers on hand. And yeah, again, I think this is just going to be a super easy race for these guys. Even if you finish 6th, even if you finish 6th, 149 laps down, I think that's a pretty good points day.
Yeah, oh, it really is. I mean, you don't really have to battle anyone for 10th points. You can get everything that you can get here. And for everyone that showed up today, it's going to be a really good points day, like you were saying.
Yeah, I really think these guys will be pretty relaxed here. Obviously, they were a couple of weeks ago at Southern National. I think we'll see more of the same this time around. Now, I do want to mention to anyone watching on Facebook or Twitch, these guys we did not carry the race on Facebook or Twitch last time around. So this is something new to the channel to have YouTube, or not YouTube, Facebook and Twitch going for this race. YouTube and Twitch, I'd say, are the 2 newer ones as far as streaming in general. So Twitch especially, but these races were carried on YouTube only previously, so it's nice to have YouTube or Facebook and Twitch rolling, and I just keep getting them all mixed up, so I think I just need to stop.
You need to slow down, buddy. You need to take a deep breath here.
Yeah, definitely. So, as these guys roll off of the starting grid, again, Akos Bakor is your pole sitter, and it was pretty much him and Thomas Nolden controlling the race at Southern National. I would expect more of the same. Thomas Nolden starting on his outside. I would just expect the 70 and 51 to control this race and probably battle it out up in the front for probably 100 of these 50 laps coming up. I wouldn't be too surprised to see these guys just get spread out and race it out.
Yeah, I could see Akos Bakor taking off as soon as the green flag flies. He's going to have really good short run speed, but with as many laps as the 51 put down, I think he's going to have a lot of good long run speed. So right now, like you said, I think the 70 and the 51 are going to dominate as the pace car dives in. We're getting ready to come green here. As we go green now, the 70 and the 51 take off, give the advantage to Akos Bakor going into turn 1.
Thomas Nolden has a bit of a connection issue there into turn 1, and he's going to file in behind Akos Bakor, and probably, again, I'd imagine these guys will relax before actually going after each other. The race at Southern National was very, very laid back. It looks like Thomas Nolden is going to give up that front running position for now and just run an entire tracks of Bakor as he tries to figure that 70 car out.
Yeah, and that's the best thing you could do to try to figure someone's line out or how someone's carrying so much speed than you. It's just, once you get the chance, just get behind them. Try to ride behind them as long as you can, just to really see and try to feel what they're doing and try to feel what they're feeling, just to pick up on their speed and pick up on some of their tricks.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's exactly what we're going to see Nolden do. He's a very precise and well-thought-out driver from what I picked up at Southern National, so I'd imagine he's going to attack this lead position, I guess, with a lot of precision and a lot of well-thought-out moves. So I think right now he's just going to wait and see exactly what happens. And my apologies, we're still on the qualifying, and there we go. You'll have the actual running order now on the top of your screen. That was my bad. But we are good to go. Lap 5 of 150, coming around to lap 6, Zach.
Yeah, and laps are going to take off extremely quick here. We're running about 15 seconds a lap, 16 seconds a lap. So, I mean, we're going to start clicking them off quick here.
Yeah, I think this race will go by really, really quickly. Obviously, already have 6 laps of 150 in the books. And I think it's just going to be more of the same, really. I think these guys are going to run clean and green. I mean, they're already a single file spread out throughout the track. And the big surprise to me is someone who we didn't see a couple of weeks ago at Southern National. He may have run the race at, the bull ring at Las Vegas, but we did not see him at Southern National. That's going to be third place, Heitor Santos Galindo, sorry. And again, just a new name to me. Currently, the 53 is running pretty good. He's only a little ways behind Thomas Nolden, so it's a bit of a surprise to me to see him pretty much keeping up with these front two. Obviously, I didn't know the name coming into the race, so it could just be my bad. He may have run, or may have won even, at the Bull Ring.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on him too. As soon as the green flag dropped, he kind of stuck right there on Thomas Nolden. He actually picked up a little bit on Thomas Nolden and then kind of faded back. So I think right now he's just trying to gauge what he has, what kind of car he has, and how fast he can run, and is just kind of saving his tires. Because this track can and will eat up tires quickly if you allow it to. If you can save a little bit of tire, set yourself up for the long run, then you're set. But if you allow it, this track will eat up tires. And I think right now he's just kind of gauging what he has, gauging how fast he can go and how well he could save, maybe for another green flag run, maybe for some green flag pit stops if they don't go all the way. But right now, look for the 53 to be a factor coming towards the end of the race.
Yeah, for sure. And it's weird to be talking about the end of the race so soon, assuming there won't be any cautions. But it really is safe to assume that these guys won't really have any issues. Maybe one here and there, but they had like 12 to 15 drivers at Southern National and only 2 cautions. You cut that in half, we'll have maybe 1 caution as Giorgio Ponti goes to the inside of Michael Kravczyk trying to get that 4th place position. The 00 working the bottom side.
And what I'm saying is the 22's giving him a lot of bottom. The 22 looks like he's just going to let him go going into turn 3 here. That's some really smart racing, honestly. Like I said, this track eats up tires, and once you're inside a car like that, you got to use a little bit more tire to make sure you don't get up into the car up high of you. So that was really smart by the 22 just to back out, let the 00 have his position for right now. Maybe save his tires, let the 00 run out his tires just a little bit and go catch him back in the coming laps.
Yeah, exactly. And these guys still have 140 some odd laps, or 130 some odd laps rather. So they have nothing to worry about right now. They can just ride a little further back. And obviously Michael Kravczyk still is a top 5, even though he's running towards the back of the overall field. And Andreas Topp is the only driver behind him. He's actually about to get lapped. Looks like he's had some early troubles. A lot of right side damage to that number 10. And Pecora trying to work his way around him. This could open up the opportunity for Thomas Nolden. And as I say that, the 10 goes low. Actually, almost contact with Thomas Nolden and the 10.
And I can't really blame the 10 for that. That's a really narrow apron. He was just trying to get out of the guys' way, and I respect him for that. Just misjudged getting into that apron corner just a little bit, trying to stay out of these guys' way. And that's really narrow, especially on the apron right there, turn 2. So I can't really fault him for it, but I applaud him for trying to get out of the way and make sure these guys still have a good race up front.
Yeah, for sure. He was just trying to get out of the way and make sure he didn't play into the race in any unfortunate way. And sorry, I was getting a message. To one of my pages,
no, you're all right.
Thomas Nolden, I do want to mention, he was in a Home Depot paint scheme last week through Trading Paints. The reason we see him in a different paint scheme this week is because these guys use a different car file updater. And so, Zach, you're probably seeing him in his Trading Paints car. But he is in a black and yellow Chevy Monte Carlo. I'm not even sure what the sponsor is. I think Rip Richo. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe we can get a confirmation at some point in the coming weeks. But he's looking pretty good in that black and yellow machine. I really like the look to it, and I even like the background, or not the background, but the outline around the number. It's so well calculated. You can just kind of see the faint, thin yellow outline. Maybe our viewers can see it a little better.
You're really going in on this paint scheme, huh?
Well, it's nice to see a painter go into those little details like that as someone who paints myself. So it's nice to see those little details being taken into consideration. But the 51 right now will go to his onboard. He is just trying to keep up with Pecora, and actually I think Galindo is starting to make ground up on him.
Yeah, Galindo's starting to make up on Thomas Nolden right now, but both of these guys are losing just a little bit to Akos Pecora. At the moment, Galindo has really kind of reeled in the 51. He's running just a really smooth line, coming in nice and easy to each corner, a really wide arc coming in so he can get a run out of each corner. But right now it's paying dividends. He's getting ready to be on the back bumper of the 51 here.
Yeah, and Zach, I want to mention, you brought up tire wear about 10 or so laps ago. Now, I do have some information that we can bring up real quick before these guys get into a battle. The weather here at Concord Motorsport Park is 78 degrees, so iRacing defaults, and then the track temp is almost 104 degrees. So that's something to keep in mind with these tires. You don't want to use them up too much because the track is pretty hot. You know, it's iRacing defaults, but 104 degrees on the pavement is nothing good for tires.
No, absolutely not. It really takes off, what hotter the track is, it really takes off a lot of rubber on your tires, which balls them out quicker, and because it's iRacing default, it's really going to take out a lot of tires. So these guys got to be real conservative. As we see the 53 pull up to the back bumper of the 51 going into turn 3, now going into turn 1. These guys are getting ready to do battle for second here. We're just going to have to see how these how well these guys save their tires, maybe behind a Cospacor, trying to maybe save a little bit to try to get up to him. But now it's time to see how much they saved.
Yeah, the 53 rather is there. He's pretty much at Nolden. I think he might have backed off a little bit. Doesn't exactly want to battle yet because you see the gap has grown just a little bit. So I think he might be trying to wait out the race, wait on the opportunity that's right to him to actually go up there and try and battle with Thomas Nolden. Obviously, Thomas Nolden, like I mentioned, is a very calculated driver, so he's not going to let this position go very easily. But the 53 is back.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing is out of each turn 3, he's getting a great run out of it. He goes in high and dives it in, or comes out low, trying to get a run out of the corner, and it's working for him every time. He's actually picking up just a little bit of time on a Cospacor, and of course the car in front of him, the 51 of Thomas Nolden. So if he does get around the 51, look for the 53 to get up there and mess with the Cospacor in the 70.
Yeah, and I think what we'll see here in this battle is, you know, for sure, these guys are a lot more calculated than possibly some American drivers. I'm just going to be blatantly honest. These guys are a lot more thoughtful on these short tracks than we might be. We might give the bumper a lot sooner, way sooner actually, than these guys would. So, you know, we'll probably see very little bumper-to-bumper action, if any, but we'll still see a lot of good racing, as we can already see with Aitor and Thomas Nolden.
No, agree. At this point, the guy in third place, maybe American, probably would have given you the bumper by now. If we were in an American lobby in iRacing, they would have been giving you some shots. Hey, get out of my way. But these guys are racing extremely respectful as of right now. They know that if they do wreck, if something does happen, they have a short field to rely on, a good point stay either way. But I don't think they want to rely on that. I think they want to rely on getting good, clean passes, having the respect of the drivers around them in the lead, and just having an overall good time out on the iRacing simulator. I mean, that's pretty much all it is. But yeah, these guys are staying really respectful of each other right now as we see the 10 of Andreas Top get lapped yet again.
Yeah, Andreas Top is going another lap down. Looks like he just doesn't have the speed at this really awkward speedway, and that's totally fine. You can miss, I guess, just have an off day, an offbeat day here at Concord, and then get back to it the rest of the season. That's pretty excusable at a place like Concord because it really is a tough track. It's not easy by any means. It's really awkward to a driver who is used to just normal ovals, or in some cases possibly being from across the pond, possibly just used to road courses. So actually you see the 10 getting really loose, and that was a nice drift through turn 2, although that's going to do a number to his right rear.
Oh yeah, and I think as soon as he heats up that right rear, he's just going to have tons of problems now. Like you said, the check temp is 104, so it's going to be really, really hard to even cool down the temperature in that back right rear. So I think he's just going to have to take his time now. Take each corner one at a time, not really overdrive it. Just make sure that right rear cools down to get back into speed, because if he keeps trying to drift each corner like that, it's going to be a long day for him.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be any easier of a day than he's already got, and it looks like he's just having issues getting used to the track. I mean, we're already 40 laps in, so this race is going by. It's going to feel like an eternity to him, but I could guarantee you this race is going by quickly.
Very quickly. We're almost at about, I believe we've surpassed a quarter of the way through, if I'm not wrong. I wasn't the best at math, but I think we're a quarter of a way through. Yes?
Yeah, and we're coming up on a third of the way through even. Once we get to lap 50 here, once we eclipse lap 50, we'll be right on by a third of the way through this race. So we'll get to halfway at about lap 75, and these guys are just making easy work of this half mile. I don't want to say tricky triangle necessarily, but I mean that's just what comes to mind. It really is a tricky triangle. Obviously that's Pocono's slogan, but it really fits for this place too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like you were saying earlier in the broadcast, this place is really laid out like the Pocono racetrack up in Virginia. The banking and everything else isn't the same, but the layout is. But with how tiny this track is, it's a whole complete different monster all its own. You could try to drive this one like Pocono, but you're not gonna get too far driving this track like Pocono up in Virginia. Pennsylvania, I apologize.
I was a bit confused there when you said Virginia the first time.
Yeah,
the second time. Pennsylvania. It's up in the Pocono Mountains. Actually, that's one of the few northeast races. I know it's not in New England, but it's pretty northeast. So that's one of the few races up there, so it's pretty cool whenever they go out there. In the real NASCAR series, but right now we're watching from the center of the track atop the iRacing hauler. And just, you can see the 53 of Galindo is right there, and he hasn't made a move yet. He's just waiting for the right time. You see, we're past third of the way through, as we get to lap 51, and we're still just watching the 51 car and the 53 car, and they're nose to tail. The 53 has not made a move yet.
I think at this point, the 53 is kind of defeating the purpose of being on the 51's back bumper. I believe this 53 has the car to get up and challenge Akos Bakor, but at the moment he's just kind of staying stuck behind the 51, and I see no problem with that. As he looks low, he will think better of it going into turn 1, but I think at this point, I think he needs to get around him. They're losing about a second a lap now to Akos Bakor, so I think this 53 has to get around him now to try to have any chance at running down the 70.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Bakor, another one of the calculator drivers. Really, all these drivers are calculated. I think Thomas Nolan and Akos Bakor are two of the best at it, just off of the races we've seen so far. But the 70 just pulling away. He's got 6 seconds on Thomas Nolan now. And I don't think he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. It looks like he was just saving his tires for the right moment, and he is really pulling away in the number 70 car.
Yeah, these guys behind him, the 51 of Thomas Nolden, the 53 of Artur Sentes Galindo, they're losing about half a second each lap now. That last time by, I believe, was 4/10 slower than Akos Bakor. So if I'm the 53, if you think you got a faster car and better tires, it's time to get around the 51. I'm not saying use the bumper. No, I'm not saying pull a dirty move. I'm just saying the 51 might be slowing you down just a little bit. But we're just going to have to see how he decides to play this as he pulls up right on the back bumper going into turn 3.
Yeah, and I went to his onboard actually through the middle part of that lap. I think he's going to make the move no, he's not this time. But he had to really jump out of the throttle in turn 2 that time around. And, I mean, I agree. He has to try and make a move now. He can't just keep waiting for a caution to get the right time. He has to just go. We're 60 laps through this 150-lap race already. We're only 15 laps away from halfway, and these guys have lost almost 8 seconds now to Bakor in the top spot.
And at this point, I don't think we're really going to have a caution. I mean, the 10 staying out of the way, he's running his own race. Both the 00 and the 22 of Michael Krafkic and Giorgio Ponti are just running their race as well. They're not really trying to challenge for anything. They're just making sure their car stays on the track, have a good points day. So I don't think we're going to have any cautions. Should this stay green, the 53 is going to have a large uphill climb to try to recatch that 70. And at this point, I think it's already might be a little bit too late. But as we look here, he looked low going into turn 3. The 53 of Galindo is going to think better of it coming out of turn 3. But at some point, he's going to have to make a move, and it might be a little bit of an aggressive one.
Yeah, and I think he's just trying to figure out the 51 of Nolden. I think at this point, he's probably got him pretty well figured out. I think we're starting to see him play some mind games, pulling to the inside, acting like he's going to make a move. But now you can see Giorgio Ponti starting to enter the picture. So they've backed themselves all the way off of the 70 car by almost 10 seconds in almost the 4th place, Giorgio Ponti.
Yeah, the 53 is looking to make a move side by side. The 51 slowed up just a little bit. Give the 2nd place to the 53. Let's see if the 53 can go run him down, go run down the leader of Ecos Bacor, which is now almost 10 seconds in front of these guys, pretty much 3/4 of a track in front of them. Let's see if the 53 can go run him down, and let's also see if Giorgio Ponti can run down the 51 of Thomas Nolden.
Yeah, Thomas Nolden has fallen way back in the 53 already. I think he's going to fall right in the clutches of Giorgio Ponti before too long, but you can see Galindo already setting sail. I think he's able to stay in the gas a lot more now, especially through the back section of this track. You see he's just really pulling away, especially through turn 2, I think that might be his strong suit. But 10 seconds is a lot to make up at a track like this when you're only running about 18-second lap times. And you can see he got the wall right there.
Just a little bit, yeah. I was watching that. He got into turn 3 just a little bit too hot, tried to carry the same momentum that he has been a few times before and just wasn't able to do it. Now we're going to see if that car's able to handle that little bit of damage right there. Sometimes that tightens up the car, sometimes it doesn't. We're just going to have to see how the 53 handles.
Yeah, and further back, Thomas Nolden has fallen all the way back to Giorgio Ponti. Giorgio Ponti is now within striking distance, and I think he's going to make quicker work of Nolden than Galindo did. I really do. And so we're just going to wait for the move from the 00 driver. So far, he's still sitting back. He has not gotten up to Thomas Nolden. He hasn't tried to do anything yet, and I think we'll see him make a move within 60 laps rather than waiting almost until halfway.
As he looks, he's looking underneath now. He's got a nose going into turn 1. It's one of the tightest parts of the track right here. The 00 kind of goes up just a little bit, gets tight. The 51 will have the position. The 00 will keep his nose going in to turn 3. Let's see if he's able to pull it out coming out of this corner. And it looks like he will clear and give the 3rd position to the 00 of Giorgio Ponti.
Yeah, Giorgio Ponti, the Italian driver, already well ahead. He's got about a half a car length into turn 3. Now 2-3 car lengths. The lead is growing on the 51 car of Thomas Nolden. So Thomas Nolden with a lot of issues. You saw him scrape the wall into turn 3 that time. The 51 is definitely not running as it should be.
And speaking of not running as it should be, like you said, the 51, the 22 is now catching up to Thomas Nolden as the 70 is of Ecos Bacor. Ecos Bacor has caught the 22, has not passed him yet, but is pretty much caught up to the tail end of these lap cars. We're going to see now if these guys pull out of the way, let the 70 go, or if they're going to run to keep on the lead lap. Looks like the 22 will catch the 51 before the 70 catches the 22. See if the 22 makes quick work of the 51 here.
Well, I'd expect that if the core does catch these guys while they're battling, we may see them roll over for the core and then go back to battling. That's kind of the mentality with most foreign racing. Oh my,
whoa,
that is close driving. You see the
right
bumper
on the
given.
Bumper.
So the first bumper given right at halfway. Michael Krafsik trying to get by the 51 of Thomas Nolden, and he is not being shy about it. He gave him the bumper in turn 3, but he is going to let the core go by exactly like I expected. And now you'll see the core try and make quick work of who he was just running away from, Thomas Nolden.
And this is probably a smart move now. The 70 is going to make a hole for the 22. The 22 is just going to follow the hole and fill it as soon as the 70 gets by the 51. Honestly, this is a really smart move used by tons of drivers that I know. I've used it a couple of times. So he's really using the 70 as a pick or using the 51 as a pickup high, using the 70 to punch a gap for himself to try to gain that position on the 51. Doesn't look like the 51 is going to give it up too easily, but the 70 is going to dive it low going into turn 3, side by side, coming out of turn 3, coming towards the line.
Yeah, you saw Thomas Nolden be rather reluctant with giving this spot up. He waited a couple of laps, and even now he's still running hard, albeit on the top side of the track, and he is not giving that spot up easily because he knows exactly what Krafsik is going to do. And you see him right there getting the move on Nolden, and I think that's exactly what Nolden was expecting. I think he was reluctant to give that spot up because of that reason. Now you see Krafsik has made the pass, Krafsik into 4th place. And now you see Nolden coming into the pit.
51, yep, the 51's coming into pit. this is really going to open up a lot of early pit stop strategy. The 10 was in, but I thought he was coming in to repair the damage of Andreas Top. He came in a few laps before, but now we're going to have to see how wide open this blows green flag pit stops.
Well, we may not see green flag pit stops. I think these guys have the fuel tank to go the whole way. This move may be just to keep his car in one piece. Obviously, he's got a huge gap back to the 10 car of Andreas Top, so I think this may just be a move to keep Thomas Nolden's car in one piece. That did help the 53 just a little bit, trying to catch the 70 car, but not enough as he is starting to lose time again to Acosta Core. But really, I think the move by Thomas Nolden was just to keep the car in one piece and not tear it up anymore. Probably just come in, get tires, and go back along his way. And you see he's already back on the racetrack.
In all honesty, he only lost one lap to Michael Kraftsick. So, if on these fresher tires, maybe if he runs a little bit harder, or my apologies, he lost 2 laps to him. If he runs a little bit harder, he could possibly regain those 2 laps on Michael Kraftsick and possibly even Giorgio Ponti. Should everything hold up, he does only have about half of a race to do this, but this could be a smart call to get himself back up into the top 3.
Yeah, of course, 100. Actually, he's going to come back into the pits. He may have sped on entry or exit the last time. So Thomas Nolden's race falling apart. Looks like he'll end up taking home the 5th place position as long as he keeps in it from here. But, you know, that's another thing is he can use up quite a few laps here and not lose a position. So I think he can take advantage of this, make sure his car stays together, make sure he doesn't tear the car up, and just exit this race with the best possible situation he can find at this point. I think it's a pretty smart move. He's got just such a gap to Andreas Top that he can do this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he might not even lose a position for doing this, even though he is 4 laps down. Andreas Top is 9 laps down in the position behind him, so he's not going to lose really anything here unless something goes tragically wrong, like maybe missing a corner, hitting the wall, possibly spinning out DNFing, knock on wood that he does. But, I mean, right now he's got a pretty good cushion back to 6th, but he's going to have to get some work done in order to get back up to 4th if he wants that 4th position. Right now, the way it's looking, he's just going to have a top 5 position, which still is not bad.
Yeah, exactly. He's using up quite a bit of his gap back to Andreas Top. We'll go back to him if he gets back on the racetrack, but currently Acosta Core just running away from everyone in this field, and I think soon he's going to have the whole field a lap down. The next car in his sights, I believe, may be, no, it's going to be Giorgio Ponti, I believe.
Yes.
Since the 22 is already lapped down, so yeah, it should be Giorgio Ponti in the 00. And yeah, that's exactly what it is, but Giorgio Ponti now starting to catch 53 of Ettore Galindo.
Yeah, just a little bit each lap at a time. The 00 of Giorgio Ponti has caught Galindo just a little bit. I want to say about 2/10 each lap. Looks like the 00 is able to carry more momentum out of turn 3. It looks like that's where the spot is for everyone today. If you want to make up some time on the guy in front of you, my apologies on mixing up that sentence, but if you want to gain some time on the guy in front of you, it looks like coming out of turn 3 is going to be the best place to do it, even coming out of turn 2. But yeah, the 00 is catching the 53. He is getting ready to pull up right on the back bumper of the 53 here.
Yeah, so back to Giorgio Ponti. Like you said, he is right there on Ettore Galindo, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a little bit quicker work of the 53 than he did the 51 of Thomas Nolden. Obviously, he can still work around Nolden rather quickly. But the leader's coming, and we saw the effect that had on Michael Kraftsick a little while ago, Zach. I wouldn't be surprised if Giorgio Ponti is a little more urgent than even he was with Thomas Nolden, and we might see him use the body a little bit. Obviously, these cars have 4 fenders and 2 bumpers for a reason, and you know, if I was these guys at this point, I wouldn't be afraid to use them.
Yeah, we're not saying use them. We're just saying they're at your disposal.
Yeah, pretty much, although, yeah, I think you were just about to call it, the 00 down to the bottom side of the 53. Galindo going to let him on by. I think it's more worth it to him at this point to just finish 3rd in this race than challenge and possibly have a wreck. So Giorgio Ponti into 2nd place. The Italian driver is about to go a lap down now.
Yeah, it looks like the 70 might lap the whole field here. If the 53 doesn't bow over for the 70 here, gives him a little bit of a fight, might give the double O of Giorgio Ponti just a little bit of time to try to get away from the 70, but the 70 is just putting down an incredible pace right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to stay out in front for too much longer, as we are coming up on 50 laps to go. We do have 98 laps in the books, coming around to lap 99.
Yeah, and this is just a stellar run out of the 70 car of Akos Bakor. He has led every single lap so far, and we're about around lap 100. We are on lap 100 now, so the 70 car has led everything so far, starting on pole, and has just set a blistering pace, and is running away with this thing at Concord Speedway so far. And yeah, just pulling away. Thomas Nolden was our winner a couple of weeks ago at Southern National. I'm not sure who won at the Bull Ring. But you see it goes before with easy work on 53. The 53 just laying back right now, weighing out what's more important to him, finishing more challenging for these spots that now at the 70 don't even matter, considering that's only track position.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing is the 70 still wide arcing turn 3. He's getting in really high, coming out really low with a lot of momentum. And from what I've seen from all these other guys, is these guys were coming in right on the yellow line and coming out on the yellow line. So right now I think that might be a little bit of a problem spot for every one of these guys except the 70. The 70's figured out some that obviously these guys have not yet. But as we look again going into turn 3, the 70 wide arcing again, trying to get the momentum coming out on the double O, trying to put the whole field one lap down.
Yeah, and he is on the bumper of Giorgio Ponti. And I want to mention to our American viewers who may just be coming in, this league, Virtual Oval Racing, is from across the pond in Europe. I'm sure Americans are to join, but for example, the 70 Akos Bakor, as he works around Giorgio Ponti, the whole field a lap down now, is out of Central Eastern Europe. So these guys are from across the pond and maybe not always used to oval racing, but they certainly do it pretty well, and they do it cleanly. I think that's the greatest thing about this racing is they do it clean. They don't use the bumper much. We've only seen one instance of the bumper being used so far, and that was Michael Krasnick working around Thomas Nolden.
Yeah, honestly, from my point, it looked like the 22 just wheel hopped just a little bit, trying to stay out of the back bumper of the 51. He still got into it, give or take. But speaking of which, it looks like Krasnick has caught the 51 yet again. This is not for position, but we're going to see if the 22 is able to catch the 51 and work around it. And it looks like the 51's pulling away just a little bit here in this little 3-car slump.
Yeah, the quick lane Ford Fusion of Michael Krasnick, we didn't get to see it at Southern National. He was in he loaded in as a different paint scheme on our end. Obviously, he was running this paint scheme then as well, but there was a bit of an issue. Again, these guys use a different car updater, and it's all in German, and I don't know German, so I made a couple of mistakes, so that's my bad. But we've got it working now, and it's a very beautiful paint scheme. Honestly, I think that's it's one of the most aesthetically pleasing paint schemes on the service, I think. It was actually created by an iRacer, then put on Ryan Blaney's 21 last year, I believe, at Michigan or Indianapolis, and it kind of stuck for another race or so, I believe, and now you see it being used again on iRacing on the Super Late model by Michael Krasnick.
Yeah, I'm not able to see the paint. I just got him in a default blue and white car here.
Well, certainly click over to the chat, or not the chat, the stream then, because you'll probably recognize it from a couple of races in the Monster Energy Cup Series last season, and it's pretty cool looking. Honestly, it's well set up, and again, it's created by an iRacer, and so that's kind of the point that I want to bring in here, since we've got so much time in this race, just going clean and green. iRacers in the real world, be it just in painting or in racing, it's starting to happen a lot more. NASCAR is actually setting up or NASCAR teams rather, is setting up a league here very, very soon with some top drivers out of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, for example, and some other places wherever they find sim racers, and I believe even some real drivers may be participating. For example, more to this point, Richmond Raceway just set up a team for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, which is sanctioned by NASCAR on the iRacing service. I believe that's being called the Chaos Crew, and I followed them on Twitter this week. That has guys like Marcus Richardson, and I believe possibly, I have to check, I think Michael Conti may be getting announced for that team tomorrow as a possible rumor. I don't know. I heard something from a friend that Conti could be their 6th driver, but I think Logan Clampett will be on that team. And just some of the big names from the iRacing oval world, if you will, are getting named to that team. Let's see if we can try and find them. See, I believe Logan Clampett's car was actually just announced. You guys can't see, but I can see his car here. I'm trying to find the paint schemes for these guys. Not paint schemes, but the name, the actual names here. So yeah, we've got Logan Clampett, who was, I believe, just revealed, I'm not sure, along with Marcus Richardson, Brian Schoenberg, Jimmy Mullis, and Nick Ottinger. So that's pretty cool for those guys. Those guys have actual support from Richmond Raceway. Obviously, one of the bigger tracks on the NASCAR circuit gets 2 dates a year in the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So it's pretty cool to see the real world getting into sim racing and sim racing getting into the real world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've heard some fantastic stories of coming from simulation to real-world racing. I mean, one of the biggest stories right now would be, or two of the biggest stories right now would be Ty Majeski and William Byron. William Byron being the champion of the Xfinity Series, and Ty Majeski getting a few shots at the Xfinity Series, running in the 60 Roush car. As the 51, I apologize for throwing everything off. The 51 gets into the back of the 53. Thomas Nolan tried to check up. Caught the 53 really quick, got into the back of him. A big moment there, could have brought out a caution.
I don't believe there was any contact made. I think the 51 locked it down before contact was made, but I want to bring attention to all the damage on that car. We're going to go back a little ways and try and see where that comes about. Actually, no, I think that was a visual glitch on my end. I can't tell because are you seeing all the damage?
I'm seeing some damage to the left side, I want to say. I want to say there's some left side damage.
Well, we're going to go back and see if we can find where all this damage comes out, because I'm seeing a lot more damage than that on the front, the roof, even in the back. Almost like he flipped and there was no caution. So we're going to go back and see what we can find. This is a replay. We're watching the 51 car of Thomas Nolden to see exactly what we can find here. But he's got a lot of damage on my end, and we're going to wait for where that comes about. These guys are running only 16-second lap time, so it's going to take a little bit.
From my end, it looks like he does have some right side damage, maybe a little bit of left side, but his front, top, and back end are clean.
We'll wait just a moment. It could just be a visual glitch from me, but I still want to find out where this came about because, again, it's showing, okay, yeah, he blinked. He had some internet issues, so that's why he has all that damage. It's a visual glitch because of the blinking. And ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't a common viewer on our channel or other iRacing broadcast channels, basically the blinking is just imperfections in the connection, and iRacing just gets confused almost for a simulator, and sometimes you just see really weird things. It's really hard to explain nicely the damage fixed, but he was sideways through the turn 2 as well.
Yeah, just the 53 is, excuse me, the 51 of Thomas Nolden. He's just been running the tires off of it, but I mean, he's got nothing to lose. He's got new tires. He's almost dead to last in the lobby with only 6 drivers running right now. So should he finish dead last in the lobby, he's only getting 6th. So right now he's got fresher tires. I think he's just putting everything he's got out there on the line. Really seeing what his car can do, maybe for another time when they come back to this track, or probably testing some stuff out. Knowing that he's not going to win this race, it'd be a good time to put in a little bit of a test session here, see what the car can do.
Yeah, that's a great point, Zach. And let's call attention to Akos McCord now lapping Michael Grasek for the 2nd time this morning. Has already worked by the 22 car rather easily. Now he gets to go set his sights on 3rd place once again, and that's a Torcintes Galindo. And he's just flying. He really is, especially late in this race. It's kind of bizarre to see that 70 car working so well, but he is just taking care of these tires, even though he's been running a blistering pace since lap 1, and he has led every single lap. As you can see right here, he's led 133 laps now of 150, and, well, actually 133 of 133 that have been run, 150 total.
Yeah, like you said, he's just setting a blistering time. It's just incredible to see him go around this track and keeping his cars one piece. I don't think he even has one scratch on the car. Maybe a few little nooks and everything from the marbles being kicked up from the guys in front of him, but I mean, he's kept his car clean. He's been out of situations. He's been smart about passes. I mean, if he doesn't win, why not? I mean, he set just a blistering time. He's running a blistering time. He's showing why he should win this race. I mean, the 70's just on a roll right now as the 53 ducks out, lets the 70 go.
Yeah, Chris McCord ran really well at Southern National, like I mentioned at the top of the show, but he did not win. That was Thomas Nolden who ended up winning the race. So it's kind of crazy to see the 70 car running so well, lapping everybody soon by 2 laps. And Zach, I'm going to let you carry the commentary for a moment. I'm going to see if I can find out the results of last week's race at the bull ring.
Alrighty, well, as we continue to look on here for just a little bit, looks like the 70's next target, if I can find out who that's going to be, the 70's next target in front of him is going to be the 51 of Thomas Nolden. I think we're only going to have one driver, one lap down. That might be Giorgio Ponti, if he's able to keep the pace that he's running at the current moment as we get ready to come to 10 laps to go. Not this time by, but the next time by. It looks like Giorgio Ponti is about half a track in front of the 70 of Akos Bakor, trying to keep that one lap down status going while everyone else is multiple laps down. Akos Bakor has just set an absolute blistering time tonight, or this morning for us, probably tonight over there. I don't know the time difference. My apologies, but just the 70 has set just an absolute blistering pace. These guys were keeping up for the first 50 laps. As soon as tires fell off, it just kind of went south for them, and Akos Bakor just kept on it, kept on the loud pedal, and you see it paying dividends now as he is catching up to the 51, which is interesting because the 51 is on fresher tires than these guys. So, I mean, the 70 is just running in just an incredible pace. He is catching the 51. We're going to see if the 51 does pull over for him here. He has pulled up to almost his bumper going into turn 3. It looks like the 51 will go high for the 70 as we come to almost 5 laps to go here in this race.
Yeah, 7 laps to go now for leader Akos Bakor, and I do want to mention I did find the point standings. This may take me a little bit of thinking because obviously, again, I'm American, I do not know German, but if this makes sense just based on context, these guys, the point standings right now, Thomas Nolden leads the points with 91. Akos Bakor has 85 points. Then it goes to Mark Kiss, who did not make the show. Then Giorgio Ponti, John Sayero, Michael Kravzik, and Marion Hansel, and some others. But at Southern National, again, it was Thomas Nolden who won. But at the bull ring, it was Akos Bakor. Thomas Nolden was your runner-up. So Akos Bakor looking to go back-to-back with wins here in the virtual oval D-Class series. Sorry, and unless he wrecks, there's no way he won't go back-to-back.
I mean, he could take this right here, wreck out, and still have a second-place finish. He has a 2-lap gap on pretty much everyone but Giorgio Ponti. Giorgio Ponti's still about half a track in front of him. So we might only see one driver go 1 lap down, everyone else multiple laps down, but I don't want to jinx anything, but I want to say our guaranteed winner right now is, of course, going to be this 70 of Akos Bakor.
Yeah, and as Robbie Buckner put in the Facebook chat, is this dude seriously winning by 2 laps? He is. He's got almost a 2-lap lead now over Giorgio Ponti. The ticker goes a little bit weird every once in a while until Giorgio comes back around the start-finish line. The white flag is out for Akos Bakor. He's rounding turn 3 for the final time this morning. Tonight over there, I believe, like Zach mentioned, and Akos Bakor is your winner here at Concord Speedway, and just, again, a blistering pace, leads all 150 laps of 150 here today in the Fanatec machine, and Giorgio Ponti, wasn't even close. While Giorgio Ponti ran a pretty good race, relative to the other drivers, I should say, still just not even close.
Yeah, it just, as we see the 70 put its first damage on the car here, getting getting a burn down session in. Just everyone else just really kept up for only the first 25 laps, and then after that, it was just a Coast Bacor's race. No one could run the pace he was, no one could run the line he was, and I think that paid dividends, and obviously it did, having everyone laps down, almost everyone multiple laps down. So, and these a Coast Bacor, just what can you say? He just absolutely blew them all away.
Yeah, and again, next week we won't be here for Myrtle Beach. Apologies for that, but I will actually be in Daytona, Florida for the races in NASCAR. But we'll be back the following week. Let's see if I can find their schedule and get you the race that we'll be at. That's pretty easy. Calendar, it's spelled differently. Lanier, we'll be back for Lanier on February 25th. I had to kind of work with a different language there for a moment, but we'll be back for Lanier National Speedway on February 25th. As yeah, you see, Coast Bacor did dent up that car pretty badly, and I think that's why he ended the burnouts relatively prematurely. And then actually, Thomas Nolden had a bit of an issue getting into the pits. You can see him on the fence there.
Maybe taking out a little bit of his frustrations. He was drifting out of turn 2 on that last lap. Maybe taking out a little bit of frustration of the race, maybe?
Yeah, quite possibly. We're going to go back and watch. You know, again, Thomas Nolden was leading the points coming into this race. He's going to end up finishing 5th, you know, 5 laps down or so. And so, you know, it really is an unfortunate showing for Thomas Nolden. But he's still in a really good spot. I think he was just taking out frustrations on the car. But, you know, thankfully this is iRacing. You don't have to rebuild that. But if that was a real car, his team would be pretty upset with him, I'll tell you that.
Just a little bit. They would have been just a little upset with him, should it be real. But, I mean, I can understand his frustration. He started outside pole. He ran outside pole for just a little bit. And just everything kind of went downhill from there. But I mean, he's smart to let everyone go. He's smart to stay out there, not take out anyone, not take out his frustration on the car during the race, just doing it after the race. So kudos to him for not doing it during the race, not possibly hurting anyone during the race. But, you know, just frustrations carry out easily here, especially at Concord.
Yeah, for sure. And as we end the show here this morning, I will mention you can come back to PSI TV later today for coverage of the NMNTS SimSpec Truck Series qualifying from Daytona. It'll be Supercar qualifying, and Zach will actually be in the number 85. I think you're going to have My Little Pony on the hood. Is that right?
That's to be determined.
Alrighty, well, Zach will be in the truck, actually, and we should have Brendan Elsoff back in time. If not, we're going to be talking to a lot of drivers to cover all the action. After which, we'll have the IRAPS Clash from Bristol, and Zach, hopefully you can join me in the booth for that. It'll be 100 laps in the Super Late Models at Bristol Motor Speedway as part of the NMNTS Super Series, so that'll be pretty cool to bring to you. But before we close the show down for the morning, the day, the night, whatever it may be, wherever you're watching from, let's check the results. Coast Bacor is your winner by over a lap over Giorgio Ponzi. I think the official interval was 22 seconds, which is a lap in 6 seconds, roughly. In third place, we had Ettore Galindo, and I'll give you the rest here, Zach.
And then coming in fourth would be Michael Kravzik. Fifth would be Thomas Nolden. Sixth would be Andreas Top. And that's going to round out our field, a whole top 6.
Yeah, and Mark Kiss did show up to practice. Unfortunately, did not race. I'm not sure what happened there. Hopefully we see him at Lanier in a couple of weeks. These guys will have a race in between. I'm not sure if it'll be live anywhere, but you can try and search them up on social media. I'm not sure if they even have any social media, but it is the Virtual Oval Championship, so if you can find something, that's what you want to look up. And we will be back with coverage in a couple of weeks, bright and early Sunday morning from Lanier National Speedway. Until then, you can check out all of our action the next couple of nights. Going to be a lot of action, actually, tonight and tomorrow night from the NMNTS. Make sure to check it out here on PSI TV, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And other than that, I think that's it. Zach, for Sorry, Zach, thanks for covering this race with me. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I had just an all-around great race. I had a great time. I hope everybody watching had a great time. These guys put on one heck of a show, and I look forward to seeing them again, I believe, next week.
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. My apologies. Yeah.
All right, and that has been the Three Corners 150 from Concord Speedway. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We will catch you next time. Make sure, again, to tune in tonight for some NMNTS action.